What's up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations. 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers that is sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And as always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And we are here on a Sunday afternoon. I was going to say, it is June 4th. Yes, it is June 4th in Toronto. And not as hot and hazy as it was during last week, but just a nice day. Actually, someone told me yesterday they felt it was cold. I said, are you kidding me? It wasn't. Our new friend is saying, shaking her head, saying it was cold yesterday. Well, is it cold compared to January? No. But let's talk some shop here. You're watching Black Canada Talking. It's a live online event that provides Black Canadians the opportunity to give their takes and POVs on stories that have importance to them. We also showcase Black Canadians, and we have a new friend for you all. I've known this wonderful person for probably about a year and a half, 2 years now, but let me introduce her properly. Kara Morgan is a serial, entrepreneur and the owner and founder of PlanIt Efficiency Solutions, a boutique. I like that, boutique consultancy in Southern Ontario that she founded in 2012. Her business provides efficiency products and services to growth-oriented service providers. Using an end-to-end approach, her products support energy-conscious and efficiency-seeking businesses that know the importance of comfort and how the environment can impact productivity. She also does a lot of things. She's been an anti-racism educator and facilitator for over 30 years and has delivered anti-racism workshops and webinars to adults and children in private organizations and school boards in Alberta and Ontario. In addition to running her business, and being a fantastic mother, she's also director of operations and secretary for the Afro-Canadian Contractors Association, an instructional facilitator, industry expert, and lead mentor at Innovation Guelph, a nonprofit organization that supports entrepreneurs, and was an expert advisor for their startup chats, a monthly Twitter chat from 2013 to 9 years. What? There's so many other things she does, but she has a BA in psychology and certifications in project management, technical writing, and is completing her certification as a business process architect. I've never heard that term before. I have to find out about that. She's an avid biker and loves to explore nature. I wonder where she gets time to do that. She's a community builder and advocates for children, youth, and single income parents. She's a mother of two whom she describes as her greatest teachers. Well, she's taught me a lot, and something tells me she's going to teach you a little while today. So welcome to Black Canada Talking. Kara Morgan, what's going on?
Hey, Dr. Vibe. I'm good. How are you?
I'm jealous how you just had that sun beaming and just jealous that beaming in on you. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm one of those people that find it cold today.
So when does it start getting hot for you?
Do you know what? I take off my jacket once it hits 20, but if it's below 20, I am cold.
But it's not below 20 today.
I think it was like 17. It was.
Okay, hold on. Okay. I know you live in a different part of the world, but we're not that far away. I'm going to pull out my phone and see what the temperature is. Yeah. And it's probably at the same where you are. So let me just check where I am right now. Okay, come on up. Think weather network thing. Okay, 21 degrees.
Okay, 21.
Thank you.
It
just passes. Just passes.
Yes,
how are your two young teachers?
Good. One of them is bugging me right now.
Can he just rest and know for a few minutes, please, right? And thank you.
Right, exactly.
Like, why bother mom while she's on Black Canada Talking? The nerve.
All kids. I think it's part of the DNA. This is when they have all of the questions when you're on the phone and when you're doing something.
Yes, they want that attention.
That is what it is.
All right. Well, let's get into it. Let's find out. Wonderful and family. The background is longer. than I read. But so if
Mm.
you want, go to my website or go to YouTube. It's a longer background. I condense it because she's done so many incredible things. But let's go back. Let's find out a
Mhm.
little bit about where were you born, where you grew up in the early Cara.
Okay. So I was born in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and left there when I was young and grew up in Alberta, probably the first, I want to say 30 years of my life. And then came to Ontario in 2001, 1 month after 9/11.
Okay. Okay. So let's, okay. How was home life?
In St. Vincent?
Yes. Need to
Um,
know since that'll get you warmed up.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, I have really fond memories of communities, people working together. Like when I grew up, people would help each other build a house. So somebody would be building a house and the whole village would get together. You know, most of the people in the village would get together and everybody would contribute to building the house and the homeowner would cook and that would be their pay. So that's the kind of environment I grew up in. Just everybody was auntie, there was respect, you know, and there was none of this talking back or these things kids get
You
away
mean
with.
the stuff that some of your young teachers do once in a while?
Right, yeah,
Okay.
exactly. You had to be accountable, you had to be
Yes.
accountable. And just,
Good.
we live near the sea. St. Vincent's very rocky on the inside, so most of the people live along the coastlines and just every day at the beach or at the sea, or
Mm,
it was nice. I enjoyed it a lot.
mm, mm. Uh, what what were some of your fondest memories of home, or what are some of your fondest memories of home?
Some of my being with my cousins, which there are many cousins, many different ages. Um, climbing the mango tree. I couldn't climb a coconut tree. I tried. I think I was too small at the time. But just watching people cook coconut tree, watching the fishermen come in with their catch for the day, and they would go around the village. People would come to them, and they would sell fish. We used to have a bread van that came down to our village, and they would bake fresh bread every morning, and
Oh
and
no,
people
you're
would have
kidding
bread.
me.
Honestly, fresh
Oh,
homemade bread
every morning?
with no
Oh.
preservatives. Yes, just handmade. And
Mm,
and they would bring down the bread in the van, and somebody would be in the back of the van, and people would buy their bread. It was nice.
nice.
It was
Nice.
very nice, very humble.
What was the reason leaving bread making, the beach, the warmth to of well, Alberta? Alberta.
Yeah. Well, we came here
How did
first.
that happen?
We came here first. Both of my parents came here as teachers, and then my mom went to college. My dad was studying to be an engineer at the time. I think he had his drafting certificate. So he got a job in Alberta to do that, and that's how we ended up there for more years than I wanted to stay. But
You didn't have a choice. You
yes,
didn't
that's
have a
right.
choice. You
That's
didn't have a
right.
choice. Uh was it okay? One or two ways I'm gonna go here. Okay, you mentioned your parents. What qualities that your parents demonstrated that you still
That I still it froze just when you were saying
yeah,
it.
that you still carry on with today? What things have you inherited from them?
Do you know what? My dad is the most easygoing person. Nothing really ruffles his feathers. It takes a lot to get him riled up. So as I got older, I developed some of those qualities. Actually, with my children, and it's kind of laid back, but and my friends, but there's some situations you get into where you kind of have to, take a stand. But my dad is really laid back, and it's one of the qualities that I picked up from him. He's also very analytical and very practical, which is another thing that I carry with
Okay,
me.
now I'm beginning to figure some things out. This is why I'm asking because yeah, okay, keep on going. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's an engineer. So, and I think I'm an engineer in spirit because that is very very much my way of doing things, very analytical, very practical, always looking at the root cause of things, just trying to figure out, okay, well, how did this happen, or how does this actually work, and not just, the symptoms of it. My mom, on the other hand, was very what's that word? I don't want, not a fighter, but very much she would stand up for, what was right, and what, if there was some kind of injustice, she would be the first person there to say, okay, no, this isn't right, this needs to be fixed. I remember when I was in school, as a young Black child in Canada, very, I'm sure we all have a similar story, but she would get calls. So I would have been in probably grade 1 or 2 at the time, just came here, and she would be get calls, your daughter's talking, your daughter's,
Mm-mm.
disrupting class, your daughter's,
Mm-mm.
and I had a friend, right? My friend is white. One of my very best friends. We're still friends to this day. Um, and she would never get calls. Her mom never got calls. And so one day my mom said, okay, who's she talking to? That's what the teacher was like, you know. And so my mom said, is she talking to herself? She has to be talking to somebody. But it was my friend that I was talking to all the time. We sat next to each other. She never got calls. So my mom was, that type of person. She'd be at the school, and, this is, my daughter has these strengths. My daughter, is not disruptive, and, she would stand up for me. So, and I've had to do that with my two children as well. Yeah.
Interesting.
So.
You mentioned Alberta being there longer than you wanted to be. What made Alberta challenging?
Cold. It's cold.
Nothing else, just the cold.
It's cold and dry.
Okay.
That is like
Okay.
kryptonite for black hair. No.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness, that's hilarious. The cold, well, the cold I thought, but the dry and the hair. Okay, I'll let that be. Okay, all right.
Very dry. Mm-hmm.
Uh, so, were there any good memories of Alberta other than those two things?
I always say the best thing about, so I was in Calgary. The best thing about Calgary is Banff and Vancouver, because they are very close, and you can just go. I loved the West Coast, and it was just really easy to get there. But I mean, Calgary has its good points. The mountains are beautiful. It's kind of crazy, the weather there. So I think that impacts the people, and they're kind of, the weather's unstable. So the people are kind of like that, you kind of don't know what to expect.
Okay.
Not all of the people, but I just mean in general.
Yeah.
Because you just never know with that weather. But when you get Chinooks, it was very beautiful there.
What was the reason for leaving Calgary?
I wanted to, so we had no close relatives in Alberta, and everybody was in Ontario. And so it was just easier when my kids were young at the time. I just had the one. It was just easier to move here and have him around some family, because he had family on his dad's side in Alberta. But our family here, he didn't know them very well. And just the whole school situation was very tense there. So moving here, I thought, would be a better option, more flexibility. I had a business back there as well, selling Black history books, mostly children's Black history books. And so I thought it would do better here. But when I came here, there was a lot more competition. I was basically the only one there. But when I came here, there was tons more competition. So a little bit of everything.
I want to detour here, and I know it's going to come up later in our conversation, but I want to take it now. Where did you get your foundation to be an entrepreneur? Because I did not know that you were an entrepreneur in Calgary. I didn't even know the Calgary story, but it sounds like entrepreneurship has been a lot of your journey.
Yes, absolutely. I think our family, just about everyone in our family, is either self-employed or was at one point, or kind of does it kind of on the side. We're a very creative bunch. We're kind of mavericks, I would say. We don't always, kind of follow the beaten path. and just very innovative, creative people. And I think that comes from growing up in St. Vincent, where you had to be industrious, you had to be creative, you had to make do, with what was there, because in the Caribbean we get some products, but we don't get everything, and there's plenty of natural resources around. So you can do a lot with a bamboo stick. You can do a lot with a banana leaf. There's so many resources there for you to use and make things. And I saw that. And I don't know if you've ever been home using one of the minibuses.
Yes. Oh,
The
not
van.
staple. Come on now.
Okay, so it's famous and they have them, but where you're if it was up here, it would seat maybe 8, maybe 10, but home 20,
Oh,
minimum.
easily,
And
easily,
so, right?
minimum, and people hanging out. Oh, come on.
But they would take like a cushion, a makeshift cushion, and shove it into the side, and then that would be a seat for somebody, and shove one in between the console. And just very creative people. The barriers are not an issue.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So just want to shout out one of the Dr. Vibe Family Fitness IQ Cam says, good evening. Thanks for stopping by. Ask away questions if you are watching this live, especially. So coming to Ontario, okay, you had mentioned that your book business had a lot of competition. So what did you decide to launch with when you came in to Ontario?
Well, I tried it for about a year and a half, and just decided it was just better to find a job, because, as I mentioned, my son was quite young at the time. So I thought it was better to find just a regular job. And entrepreneurship at the time wasn't as, I won't say it's easy, but there were not as many options as there are now, as far as promoting yourself and promoting your product. You either had to have a storefront, or you had to, it was very physical. You had to have a storefront or some kind of visibility. So you go to all the trade shows, all the festivals, and
Mm-hmm.
it was very, very physical. And I couldn't do that with a young child. So I decided to get a job, tried a few temporary jobs, and then got a permanent job with the government, and was there for almost 9 years.
Wow.
And yeah, learned a lot, did a lot, left there under not so great circumstances. But
Mhm.
yeah, after I did leave there, then I started this entrepreneurial journey.
So, some questions for you on that, and thanks for sharing. First of all, was it difficult having to leave entrepreneurship and get a 9 to 5?
You know what? At the time, I didn't have anything to compare it to, because it was kind of my
Right.
first entrepreneurial situation, and it was challenging, but not nearly as challenging as it is now, just because you have so many more balls to juggle. But I didn't know that, and at the time, I
Mhm.
was selling a product, and I said, next time I do this, I'm going to do a service, because service, you don't have to like go to all these things and do all this. And then I got a service, and then the challenge was a service is that you you don't have a visible product to show people, which
Right.
much easier to sell a product that people can see, touch,
See.
smell, right, as opposed to a service. You're selling yourself,
Right.
right? And that's harder. It's You don't have inventory. No, you don't have a layout of cash or an upfront cash that you're putting out to get product. No. But then people have to buy into what you're selling, because you might say, well, I'm a process, I do process improvement. But what does that mean to Joe or Bob, or you're not, it's nothing they can touch, feel, sense. So it's more challenging on that end.
Wow. Wow.
Hmm.
So, you left the government under not the greatest of circumstances, I guess.
Yeah, not.
Okay. I don't want to get too deep into that, but okay. So you leave the government and say, okay, it's time to do the entrepreneur thing again, correct?
Hmm. Yes.
So has Planet been the main drive since leaving the government?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I haven't. If you mean if I've gone back to an employed situation, no, no, it's just
Mm.
been this since then. Just been self-employed. since
Okay.
then.
So, can you describe for our family what does PlanIt Efficiency Solutions do?
So we help other small businesses with their efficiencies, help them become more efficient, sustainable, and consistent in the products or services that they sell. So when we look at productivity and efficiency, most people understand that there's a service side to it. So they think that you can automate. Yes, you can optimize your products and tools that you use in the back end. But very few people really understand that there's a physical aspect to that. So if you're in an environment where it's too hot or too cold, your productivity goes down, right? If,
Mm,
for instance, you're trying to work on a computer like I am right now, there's a lot of glare in your face, not very helpful, right? And stuff like strains and the way you position yourself or your equipment can cause a lot of strain and injuries, and then you're not working, period, right? Because you've got carpal tunnel or what have you.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we look at both of those aspects, both the services as well as the products, that can help with that productivity. So that's where the blinds come in.
Okay. So Finance IQ Cam is a lady who specializes in financial stuff. She goes, nice not having to go back to 9 to 5. Sometimes it's quite challenging, especially having positive cash flow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges for businesses and entrepreneurs is having that cash flow. But the way to get around it is to know that there's an audience there in the first place that wants that service or wants that, has that pain point that they need addressed, and either there's somebody there that's not doing it, or they're not doing it the way that the person wants it to be done, or they're not doing it as often. There's always something, right? You can differentiate yourself in different ways.
So, question for you:
Hmm.
when you, okay, what's it? How do people find out about your service? Because
Hmm.
yeah, I've got a number of conversations, but how do people find out about your service these days?
So we're on all of the platforms except maybe Pinterest and what's that other one called? Um, the one where you talk a lot.
TikTok, TikTok,
No, no.
Instagram,
Instagram
YouTube.
we're on, and no, we're not on TikTok. We're on Instagram. I can't. Oh, it'll come to me. But
Oh,
so
oh,
social media.
I know the one you're talking about. It's the audio one, right?
Yes, yes, yes,
And I haven't been on it for a
exactly.
long time. You know what's gonna bug me? Let me just. This is gonna
Right?
bug me now.
Is
It's
that
gonna.
the
I'm gonna. Clubhouse.
Clubhouse?
All right. Okay. All right. Good. Go on.
That's it. Yeah. So we're on most of the platforms: YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, so people can get a hold of me that way. Or some of the organizations that I volunteer with, or work with, that way, and just some of the other groups that I collaborate with, like
Mhm.
Calabash Collective, which is another consulting organization, and there are a group of Black consultants that work together. We go after RFPs together. ACA, of course, the Afro Canadian Contractors Association, where we help other Black businesses in the construction industry. So my name is out there, it's out
In a good way, yes. Okay. All right. So we are talking with Kara Morgan. She is a serial entrepreneur, owner and founder of Planet Efficiency Solutions on Black Canada Talking. Also, want to just encourage people, whether you're watching live on the replay, please like the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube. And if you like it on YouTube, also hit the notification button so you get notified when we have our epic conversations. You can also like the Dr. Vibe Show on LinkedIn and Facebook. Now, with your service,
there.
are more how much teaching do you have to do compared to selling?
Do you know, that's an interesting question, because especially with the blinds, it's 90% teaching, because when you say solar blinds, people get an image in their head of the ones that they see in Home Depot or Lowe's or blinds to go. But ours are a little bit different. It's a technology that it's more of a technology more so than a blind. So it looks like a blind, sounds like a blind, kind of walks like a blind, but it's a technology. Comes in the same format. So roller blinds, verticals. We've got fitted ones and then portables, which they're on a spring-loaded rod, and you can put them in any window that it'll extend to. But because people don't understand the difference between our blinds and the ones on the market, they tend to just group them all together, and they're very different. For
Okay.
instance, with our blinds, with your typical blind, solar blind, depending on how opaque it is or how thick it is, the thicker it is, the less light it lets into the building or the room, um, but the more it blocks the sun, right?
Right.
So if it's a lighter type blind, it lets in more sun, but then you get more UV rays. With ours, it always blocks 92 to 95% of the UV rays, 85% of the glare, and it's always 90% visible. So you can always see. It's kind of like wearing a very lightly tinted shade. You can always see outside. In the daytime, people can't see in. So it's great if you want privacy, like in a daycare or a salon or things like that. And in the nighttime, it's great that so it's like a two-way mirror. Wherever the light source is, that's where you can see. So you can see inside during the night. So if you've got employees working at night, like say the gas station, I know they don't use blinds, but that's kind of like one of the best one I can come up with.
Yeah.
Um, you can see into the building. So if people shouldn't be in there, intruders or what have you, people outside would be able to see immediately what's going on inside that building. So it's a good security feature for night
Nice.
workers. Not great for your bedroom, but
Well, let me ask, from what you shared with me, and correct me if I'm wrong, because it's your product and service, would you consider that you're offering a wellness product and service?
yeah, I think broad spectrum. Yeah, you can see that it's wellness for sure. If you look at the fact that it blocks the UV rays, like that's great if in say old folks' home, like seniors' homes, where sometimes they have cataract surgery or a lot of eye surgery goes on there, or you've got people that have had laser surgery. It'll block all of that. That usually, you're supposed to wear sunglasses or some
Right.
lens to cover your eyes for a few days.
Sure.
So even getting out of the clinic can be a challenge, right? Like, because you still can't really see very well. I don't know. I'm speaking from what I've heard. But once you do get home, you're in darkness. You have to cover your eyes, protect your eyes. But with this product, you can still get that sunlight and the protection at the same time. Or if you're in a senior's home, same thing.
Uh, how much attention is being paid to your service pre-pandemic versus post-pandemic? Because more and
Mhm.
more we're hearing post-pandemic about people wellness
Yeah.
want, whether they're working at home or work in the office, they want to have,
Mhm.
if they're working, they want to have that environment that's a safe space, not only emotionally but physically. Have
Yeah.
you seen more interest in your product and service post-pandemic?
Yeah, and both sides. So both the service side as well as the products. Because during the pandemic, we were able to promote the portable blinds. Now we didn't do as much as we could for sure, um, because then we had challenges. Um, Long story short, um, yes, because you can get what was I going to say? For for the blinds, it was easier because we could promote the portable blinds because we didn't have to go into anyone's home to install them. Um, and there the whole not shipping, but the whole installation process, going into measure, going into install, all of that was erased because they could do measure it themselves and then order it and
Right.
then just pop it into the windows that they ordered it for. And same with the service side. We promoted getting people online, getting them to sign up to implement forms, online forms, which surprisingly a lot of people didn't have, you know, in this day and age, right?
Yeah.
But just simple things like a contact form or a web form where people can get, you know, product. A lot of people didn't have that in place. And that was one of the areas that really did well. Um, as far as yeah, the pandemic goes. So yeah, and they're still trying to promote that today. I'm still trying to get our form service out there as well as the blinds, although we've had to put that on hold because we're starting our new program soon. So
Yeah, and you're reading my alleged mind, and for hosts like myself, you're a wonderful segue, because I want to spend some time you sharing about the social purpose division that helps racialized single income mothers become financially independent through business ownership and
yeah.
self-employment in the construction and the tech industries. Could you share a little bit about that, and how did that come about?
Oh, so with the blinds, two things. So, single, I don't like the term single mom. I find it derogatory. So I coined the phrase single income parents or single income households because that is what it is in a nutshell. We don't need all of the, you know, negative connotations around it, right? You're a parent, you're a parent. And my experience has been with single income parents, you get taxes if you were single. That is the way our tax system is set up. So if you're two income, you get a lot of deductions, you know, you get credits. If you're single,
Yep.
you pay what you would pay as if you had no
Yeah.
children, but you
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
that 20,000 or 30 extra thousand that you pay every year to take care of that child or those children, you know, you get the child tax, yes, and that's if you do your income tax. We know, I'm sure you know people that don't,
Yep. Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and so that's, you know, that income source is not there, but the government doesn't, you know, doesn't bat an eye. You know,
No.
they throw a little bone every now and then, but apart from the few hundreds that you might get a year, that's it. And so knowing that and understanding that there weren't a lot of women in the construction industry as well as the tech industry, joining ACA and really getting to understand more of the background around that, this program came about because I wanted to get more women into construction. I wanted to get more women self-employed and give them the opportunity to have that flexibility in their schedule, as well as their income be the kind of, you know, drivers of how much income they make and not be underemployed, which a lot of us
Right.
are, like
Yeah.
the large
Absolutely.
majority of us are. You know, black uh, women in particular make 76% of what the average person does.
That's
And
right.
knowing all that, this program would be a wonderful opportunity to get them out of that and put them in the driver's seat as far as their finance goes and the managing their schedule and being there for their children if they needed to be.
It's a wonderful initiative, and kudos to that. Really, that's a great initiative.
Mhm.
Fitness IQ Cam says sips on a drink on folks that file multiple taxes. LOL. Something tells you I may have to introduce you to Fitness IQ Cam. I think you'd have some wonderful, colorful offline conversations.
I'd like to hear more.
Oh yes, oh yes. I have a favor to ask. I want to know if I could have you share a little bit of your lens of being an anti-racism educator and facilitator for over 30 years.
Oh, yeah. So I started doing that in Alberta through an organization called the Arusha Center, and they're still around. Their focus has changed
Yes.
a little bit. You know
Yeah.
about Arusha?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so it was a lady named Rosemary Brown, Dawn Scott. There were several of us. I didn't start it, I joined them. They were doing this work for several years and took me under their wings. And yeah, and Calgary was the perfect place for it because it's very, very homogenous in Calgary at the time. This would have been I won't say how much, but more than 20 years ago. That's a while ago. It's very homogenous. And interestingly enough, the headquarters for the Ku Klux Klan was in Caroline, Alberta, which was just south of Calgary. Um,
Okay, now I know why you left Calgary. Keep on going.
yeah, that's a very hidden secret that not too many people, because they're not visibly active. Most of the stuff is done through policies and laws and what have you. Um, so it only impacts those people that it affects directly, which is not, you know, non-black folks or
Right.
non-racialized folks. So we did workshops for police organizations, for the firefighters. I was also an ambassador for the government of Alberta for their diversity program. And yeah, just continued that work right till I came here. But up until 2020, that was not desirable work. You often volunteer to do that type of work. You wouldn't be paid like the 100K that you would get today.
Mm,
Definitely. It was a
no.
lot of volunteer, and it
Yeah.
was through nonprofits. And if they wanted to give you an honorarium, that was great. Otherwise, it was that kind of scenario. Yeah, and then once 2020 came, there was an upsurge, and everybody wanted to do DEI work or EDI, some people call it,
Yeah.
work. But again, not so much anti-racism. But without anti-racism work, there is no equity, diversity, and inclusion. That is kind of the foundation, right? Otherwise, what are you being diverse about? You know.
Yes.
So
So you should, yes,
right,
exactly.
you
Yeah.
need you need you need a benchmark to compare. You know how some people, you have black people, and then some people say they're brown. You wouldn't have a brown if there wasn't a black, right? You wouldn't have a white if there wasn't a black in the first place.
Right.
So just that basic understanding and trying to get that knowledge out, and a lot of the confusion that is occurring with our media and with our popular culture, movies, etc.
You know I'm gonna go deeper onto this. So I see the smile on you. So you know I'm going deeper on that. But keep on going.
Yeah, and just really trying to raise the awareness, but not encourage what's being shown on social media or on the TV, because to put it in a nutshell, it's incorrect. And our prime minister is incorrect when he calls people that are protesting racist, because it has nothing to do with racists. If people have a different opinion from you, that does not make them racist. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
And you can just throw it nice and lightly. I like that. I like your little tit, 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 tit. I like those things. All right, let's catch up here. Share Knight, what is up? Share Knight says, "Hey Kara,
Hey.
good evening, all." Fitness IQ goes wow, and so saying to the KKK in Calgary. Wow. Okay. Uh, you've had a wonderful lens of anti-black racism for over 30 years in this country.
Mm,
How do you feel? Okay, and I guess one of the benchmarks is you mentioned 2020 and now.
mhm,
Just a few weeks ago was this. It was the anniversary of 3 years of George Floyd being killed.
right.
How much has changed through your lens?
So surprisingly, not much. Um,
Can I just interrupt? Why are you surprised about that?
because of
Were
all
you
the hype.
expecting a lot to change?
Expecting, in a sense, because that is the impression that we were given, right? There are so many programs coming down the pipe. Everybody wants to do some kind of EDI or DEI program, or adjust their HR policies to include equity, diversity, and inclusion. Um, but we keep overstepping anti-racism, and the fact that people don't realize that all of our institutions are built on that they are built on a system of, I want to say white supremacy, but not in the way we hear it in the media. White supremacy in the sense of not the individual, but the ideology, right? So the ideology that whiteness is better, superior, etc. Not white people, but whiteness. There's a difference. So you and I may have a very good friend that happens to be white, right? Or a family member or what have you. That might happen to be white. And they're wonderful people and we get along with them fine and they've never done anything to hurt us. But the system that we operate in is not like that, right? So we need to separate those two things, right? From the individual and the systems that we live in. And with the George Floyd situation, the expectation that we were given, anyways, is that that would change somehow and that we would address those things. We're addressing little band-aid nuggets, and we're addressing small things, but not the big thing. The elephant is still very much in the room, and yeah, so it's surprising that more haven't been done, and that's because I don't think the intention was genuine. I don't know. I don't know that people want to give up that power just yet, because it is a power that is at play here, and I'm not so sure that people, number one, understand that it's a power, and that's probably why it's so. There's some hesitation about letting it go.
When I share this periodically on the conversations I get involved in on these type of subjects, that when I look at the world of the melanated world,
Mm-hmm.
I look at it in three areas. And good afternoon, Macmillan Group on Instagram. We've been broadcasting a little snippet of this on Instagram. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you want to catch the full conversation, go to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube for the live version or the replay. I use the term three terms: trauma, repetition, symbolism. So through your lens, has the whole corporate world saying we're going to address DEI been a lot of symbolism?
I think definitely for some organizations that's the case. We see it on LinkedIn all of the time that people, you've got companies that won diversity employer of the year, and then you've got employees, all the comments, like 10 pages of comments saying it was horrible working here, the culture was awful, it was oppressive, but they won, right? So the question, I guess, comes down to what is it that's really being measured? Who's doing the measuring, right? And what outcomes are we expecting? Because if you look back 10 years ago, people thought that having a potluck, multicultural potluck was, DEI or, anti-racism, or they thought having a cultural day in the office was, the thing to do because they were being, respectful of other people's culture. You wouldn't do that today because that can backfire very, very quickly. And in some cases, it can turn into misappropriation, right? Cultural misappropriation. Shout out to my Kim Kardashians and my Justin Biebers out there. That's what we're talking about. Like people that put on blackness as as an outfit. And
they profit from it.
Exactly. That's the bottom line, right? Because if you and I did that, we would make nothing and we'd probably get arrested or something very quickly, right? And so those types of things aren't addressed. And sometimes, most times, I would say, people aren't aware of that and they don't understand what all the big fuss is and why people are up in arms. But it's things like that where, people's everyday lives are belittled or trivialized or
Mm-hmm.
you know co- turned into an outfit, you know Halloween costumes and what have you, and not understanding that every day you get up in this skin that
Yep.
you have to deal with, that you can't take it off,
Right.
right? It's
Right.
permanent, right? And you came
Yes.
into this world in it. So it's not something that you happened to be dealing with as an adult. No, even before you're born, you're dealing with it, right?
Sure.
So there's that history component to it that very rarely ever gets addressed,
Nice.
or not in that
That's
way, I should say.
absolutely. Good afternoon, Mr. Gospel Cafe. You're watching Black Canada Talking with Dr. Vibe and Carol Morgan. We're getting some great perspective on her 30 years being involved in anti-Black racism in Canada. So thanks for tuning in. We'll do a little bit more broadcasts. You're only getting a snippet here. If you want to catch the full conversation, go to the Dr. Vibe Show YouTube page. Share Knight says, excuse me, exactly. Power is the key.
Yeah.
People will not admit to your face that they don't want to actually have to compete with others based on merit and not have opportunities, quote, handed, unquote, to them.
Yeah. Bang on. Hey, Cher. Hey, girl.
There you go. So if you've been in it 27 years,
Yeah.
how has compared the first 27 to the last 3? Your experience.
In what way? How, if it's happened to me or how I've dealt with it?
Whatever way you want to go. Whatever I'm in it, whatever way you want to share with our family, problem.
I think that the last 3 years have been great for anti-racism and DEI practitioners. Like it's been, good that way. But again, just seeing that things haven't really changed. I know there was this big fuss about Black Lives Matter, and everybody thought Black Lives Matter would save the day, and so many people in our community were, and they still are promoting it. I wasn't one of them. I never really thought they were doing anything, kind of saw through, the smoke screen. And here we are 3 years later, and they're under investigation. There's very little accountability for the money. Yeah. And, and if they had listened to the people who had really had the background or the knowledge about this area, they would have seen that coming, because this is how it typically happens. That's not new. There's typically a figurehead. They get a lot of money, a lot of promotion, and then they're targeted, right? Or they implode, they self-explode. So interesting in that way that now that there's all this interest and all this effort going into it, but the change has been minimum. We still have a high dropout rate. We still have teachers that are targeting children, and no disrespect to any teacher out there. We happen to have some very wonderful teachers in our school, but I know that's not the case. When we were at another school, it was the complete opposite. So, you still have situations like that. And I think where the misstep is not understanding that this is institutional. So it doesn't matter whether it's the healthcare system, the education system, the financial system, any one of the isms, right? You're going to have systemic problems that still have yet to be addressed. So you can do, a little study here, putting in a little program there. But if you don't understand what you're really solving, then it's just another program. It's just another Band-Aid solution. And the questions will continue, the accusations will continue, and the finger pointing will continue, because you've never really addressed the root cause of the problem.
Good stuff. Got some people here. BB, I think the Black Business Professional Network, New Brunswick. Hello on Instagram. We're going to wind it down on Instagram in just a moment, but got more people joining the conversation. I wonder why, because Kara's dropping knowledge bombs. She's dropping knowledge bombs and talking about anti-Black racism for the last 30 years in her journey involved in it. With that also, when it comes to anti-Black racism, I've heard personally some horror stories of mainly Black women who take positions in organizations.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And you're the DI consultant, and it never turns out good. One in particular, I will not get into. There's a lady who I spoke to a little while back. She took a DI consultant position in one of Canada's top 10 retailers.
Mm-hmm.
She left after 6 months.
Yeah. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. And that will continue. That will continue because, again, the understanding, the basic understanding isn't there of what the problem is. And the other big problem is that uh, in Canada, we have the either fortune or misfortune of being north of the US. And what typically happens is either they're using, and I've seen Black organizations do this too, and it really upsets me, but they use US statistics for
Mm,
Canadian situations.
yeah, can't
And
do that.
there's in some cases it's the complete opposite what we experience here as opposed to in the States, like with education, where the education, post-secondary education is very um, I wouldn't say low, but the Black group is not at the top. In Canada, we are the top people that go seek out post-secondary education
Yep.
or are post-secondary educated. So you're dealing with, a different outlook, a different approach, different, completely different situation where that's concerned. Um, but you will still see stats saying that, the Black Canadians are undereducated or Black Canadians face, high dropout rates. Yes, they do, but they're also, overrepresented in the post-secondary um, institutions. So, like things like that are going to continue until um, people start that comparison because where you have employment equity here, you have affirmative action there. Affirmative action is based on quotas, and it's not merit based as Cher mentioned. It's about numbers, and that automatically gets people's backs up. But I think worse than that, it takes away any credibility you have. And I can point out specific example: Kamala Harris.
Yep.
Um, what's the judge called? Ketanji Jackson.
Yes.
They,
Yep.
right? They were all hired because they were Black, right? And now that they're not as shiny as they were in the beginning, they've come up against some obstacles. That is what you remember about them, not the fact that they might have a PhD or that they may have been, have a sterling background, what have you. No, you remember that, well, they failed because they're Black, because that is how they were sold to us, right? That is how they were presented to us. And that is what you will remember. Whereas if you get a job based on merit, based on your credentials, based on your experience and your background, and you fail, you don't lose that, right? You would fail because of other reasons, things weren't in place when you got there. And I think a lot of Black women come up against that when we go into these jobs. We're expected to fix something that's been broken for a long time, but not given the tools to fix them, or not given the authority, because sometimes it's just for show, just like those two women that I mentioned. um, and so it never really gets fixed. And I would even go one step further to say that the intention isn't for it to be fixed, but to say we tried.
Symbolism.
Yeah, we tried, and it didn't work. And so now we can say we tried. We've checked off that box, and we've tried. So it's your problem again. So.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna shut it down on the Instagram side. Thanks to Josie.Simonini, to the Macmillan Group since 1999, Mr. Gospel Cafe, Black Business Professional Network in New Brunswick, and call_Andre. If you want to catch a full conversation, you can go over now to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube. Also, subscribe and notify, or you can also catch a replay there. So as always, to the IG family, remember to give yourself grace and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Thanks for stopping by. Hey, Matt Storm, gotta catch me on YouTube. Be well. All right. So then, because I don't want to keep you too long, because I know you got someone probably watching you every move you're making right now saying, get off with Dr. Vibe. You talk to them all the time. So a few closing comments from you. First of all, then, what would be your call to action to non-melanated Canadians when it comes to anti-Black racism?
That's a hard one, and I'll tell you why. Because one of the things, I'm not crazy about DEI for is that there's always a blame component, right? And I think what people are experiencing now is that a fatigue around that, and there are even some, you know, Black folks on all of the platforms saying that Black people are being racist now, and there's reverse racism, and that is a it's a misnomer, number one, but I won't get into that right now.
You
But
can.
it's well, without the component of power, which Black people don't have, whether it be, even if you go to a Black country, their laws were still made by Europeans, they're European centric, they're imperialistic, they're capitalistic, right? That doesn't change, even though the country is Black run, Black led, Black populated. That doesn't change, and it doesn't matter where in the world you go. So your power is limited, right? If you have any at all, because a lot of times they're figureheads, is right. They're not really, they weren't elected by the people. That's rampant um, in some places. So you have people that are still um, confused about that, and so they say that now we're bashing white people, and I really put that squarely on DEI and those initiatives, because that is what it does. There's a call for white people to take ownership and to own up to what their ancestors did, and I think that's important. But I'll give you a really quick example. If my great 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 grandfather invented the stopwatch, or the wristwatch, right? And I still wear that wristwatch today, or everybody's wearing it, so it's still making money. I still benefit from that. I still get the royalties from that because I'm one of his descendants, right? And you would look at slavery that way. However, slavery is a very very small part of our history. We've been here for millions of years, millions, right? We've started civilizations. Our civilizations have been destroyed, not underdeveloped, but destroyed. That's important to realize, and that legacy is buried. Right? Nobody really knows about all of the greatness. A lot of these monuments and these megaliths structures that are here didn't just pop up one day. No, somebody built them, and they weren't aliens. No, they were not aliens. They were actual people. So when we think about the power dynamics, and realize that it's hardly ever mentioned. Yeah, there's going to be confusion and fussing, and people pointing fingers and things like that. So I would say to them that you know number one, this is not about blame. This is not about shaming people either, but it is about uh, understanding the reality, and trying to make, trying to understand that a lot of our history has been deleted and erased. And we see this happening today with the statues pulling down and them destroying buildings and historical buildings. 100 years from now, nobody will ever know that those statues were ever there or those buildings were ever there, and it would be like they never existed. But we know, right? And we see that happening again. And so, my call to them, not as white people, but just everyone, is take a look at what's going on, because it's happened before. This is not new. What's happening now, it's happened before. And I think it's a call for everyone to kind of, you know, be aware of what we're really being told and what's really behind it. And it's
Nice.
not so much about color,
Okay.
but it's about control.
Color, not control, like that. Some comments here. Fitness IQ Cam says it's hard to find Canadian information in the personal finance world with stats.
Mm,
She also says it's a shame that they try to use American stats for education.
yeah.
Oh, checking into the conversation today, Dr. Tachi. Yes, Dr. Tachi, who hosts the livest program online about media tech and pop culture. It's called Mediascope on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Instagram Live. Then at 6 p.m., it's on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and other platforms. I think I got the most. And then I'll say it now, June 19th, herself and her producer, Curtis, are launching a live stream platform for content creators. And Dr. Vibe's content is going to be on that. And this will be one of the shows that'll be on that for their audience. So Dr. Tachi, thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you so much for your support. And thank you for the great conversation you and I had yesterday. That was fantastic. So Kara, then what do the melanated people got to do?
Sorry?
What do the melanated people got to do? Because I know you said everybody. I think you may have a message directly for we.
For us, don't give up. And I guess my message would be don't get caught up in all of these politics and all of this this conflict that they're trying to start. It has nothing to do with us. We're just collateral damage. Even after all this, we'll still be in this body. We'll still having the same experiences because nothing has really changed. So just be mindful, and understand when you're being triggered. Understand when people are trying to get you to be emotional about something that tomorrow might not matter, or tomorrow might turn into something else, because that's happening as well, right? So just be mindful of people who are just trying to get you to be emotional and get involved in something that really doesn't have anything to do with you at the end of the day.
Wonderful. What is next for PlanIt Efficiency Solutions?
Our program. So we're onboarding some women. More information will come out about that in the next few weeks. We're starting a program for our women to get women into the construction industry doing blind installations, and also getting them certified as energy auditors. So more information will be coming out about that. Can't tell you too much right now because we're still putting it together, but that is what is next.
So with that opportunity, since you're a planner, all these things, what would be a measure of success with that opportunity? What would be a measure of success with that opportunity?
That it would be wonderful if those women became financially stable, sustainable, and have the type of life that they want, and the types of interactions with their families that are desirable, and comfortable for them. That would be the goal. Of course, we're looking at tangible things like home ownership and what's not. Those are, kind of following, that would follow suit, but initially just to get them financially stable and sustainable.
How can we help you?
How can you help? This is great. Well, this platform is great. Just get the word out. For us, getting eyes on our products and services has been a challenge. So this is perfect.
Well, thank you so much. And it's always a pleasure to be in your presence. And we're speaking one day we'll meet face to face and get a picture together. We do chat a lot offline, but Kara, I want to say thank you for everything you have, are, and will be doing. When you sent me your bio, I said, I didn't know like half of this stuff. And we didn't even, and there's stuff I didn't even get to. So we have to bring you back on a part two, because I wanted to at least get to PlanIt and the lens of anti-Black racism. And I know there's so much more that we will cover in a future conversation. But as always, I want to say that, again, thank you for everything you have, are, and will be doing when it comes to PlanIt, anti-Black racism, and helping our Black women.
Yes, absolutely. My pleasure. And I really appreciate being here, and really appreciate knowing you and all that you do and all that you've done and all that you will do. So
right back at me. All right. Well, you know what? And most importantly, the greatest work that I feel you do, as I heard the noise in the background, is being a wonderful Black mother.
Well, thank you. It's one of those things that I like to do. Yes.
Here we go. All right. Well, remember to give yourself grace, and don't just manage your time, manage your energy, and we'll chat with you soon.
All right. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Be well and keep the faith.
Thank you. You too. You too.
Bye-bye. All right, family. Oh, love that conversation. And that one could have went on and on and on and on, because there's so much. Like, I've known Kara for a while. And as I said, when she sent me her bio, I'm going, what? 30 years experience in the area of anti-Black racism in Canada? What? It's just amazing. So let's wrap it up today and want to say a few things. First of all, as always, like the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also, like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook and LinkedIn. Wonderful. And getting more and more subscribers, especially YouTube, all the time. So thank you for sharing the news. Share the conversations, follow, etc., etc. Appreciate that. Next up, if you want to get a hold of me, website, thedrvibeshow.com, email, the dr period at thedrvibeshow.com, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, the Dr. Vibe Show, Twitter at drvibeshow, and Instagram at the drvibeshow. If you want to catch replays of this conversation, let me pull it up because I got to find it. So bear with me here. Bear with me. There we go. Here at the bottom, you can watch replays of Black Canada Talking. Again, the Dr. Vibe Show, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. The website, the drvibeshow.com. That's where you can check it out. So let's close it out like this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And remember to give yourselves grace and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Thank you so much for watching live on the replay. It's appreciated, not taken for granted. God bless, peace, well, keep the faith, and walk good. Yeah. Listen.